On a quiet Saturday afternoon, investigators pulled a sleek, black 9mm handgun from the murky edge of a North Carolina river. It had been purchased mere hours earlier. At the time of the discovery, Mica Miller was moving into a new apartment. She had recently filed for divorce, finalized the purchase of a new car, and warned her family that she was being followed. This is the Mica Miller case. It is a timeline of events where local law enforcement and the victim's own family examined the exact same physical evidence and reached two entirely different conclusions. Investigators continue to scrutinize the case file, which contains pawn shop receipts, highway camera footage, and cell phone pings. These specific timestamps remain at the center of a debate between official reports and the victim's documented history. Identifying the origin of that brand new weapon is the first step in understanding what happened to Mica. To follow this investigation step by step, subscribe and join us as we examine the evidence. Mica Miller lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She was 30 years old and known to thousands as the vibrant wife of a local pastor, with a life built around her church, her friends, and her family on the coast. According to police reports, security footage recorded Mica leaving her apartment at 11:38 a.m. on April 27th. At 12:12 p.m., she was inside a Myrtle Beach pawn shop purchasing a 9mm Sig Sauer handgun and ammunition. Shortly after, traffic cameras captured her black Honda Accord crossing the state line into rural North Carolina. A gap exists in the official record here. Between the moment her car crossed the state line and her arrival at the Lumber River State Park, there are 2 hours of undocumented movement. No highway cameras or witnesses have publicly placed her on the road during this window. At 2:54 p.m., the timeline resumes when Robeson County Dispatch routed deputies to the dense, swampy terrain of the state park. Officers arrived to find Mica's black Honda Accord parked near the water. Inside the vehicle were her purse, her identification, and the empty case for the 9mm handgun purchased that morning. Nearby, investigators located the weapon itself. Mica had no prior ties to this park, an isolated location an hour away from her home and outside her usual routine. The 911 dispatch logs show that Mica contacted the North Carolina dispatcher herself. She requested that they ping her phone's location so her family could find her body. The official timeline places a woman taking active steps toward independence at a remote location, making a final phone call. This sequence creates a central question: why the physical evidence points to a self-inflicted act, while her morning preparations suggested a struggle for survival. Based on the 911 audio, the weapon purchase, and the forensic evidence at the scene, local authorities concluded that Mica's death was a suicide. Mica's family and independent investigators focused their attention on her estranged husband, Pastor John Paul Miller. In the weeks before her death, Mica filed multiple reports alleging stalking and harassment. This included the discovery of a physical GPS tracking device wired under her car and sworn statements documenting emotional abuse and a fear for her life. This flowchart illustrates coercive control, a pattern where isolation and surveillance are used to strip a victim of autonomy. Applying this framework to the documented GPS trackers and slash tires provides a different context. These actions align with the behaviors of someone creating a defense against ongoing surveillance. This creates a conflict between two theories. The police record relies on the forensic footprint at the river, while Mica's family points to the documented history of stalking as evidence that she was coerced or targeted. Without data to fill the 2-hour gap in the timeline, the forensic evidence and the history of surveillance remain in direct opposition. The Robeson County Sheriff's Office considers the investigation into Mica Miller's death closed. However, federal authorities have reportedly looked into allegations involving the local church, keeping the broader circumstances of the case under scrutiny. Beyond the police reports is the memory of a woman who was actively trying to start over. The human cost of this tragedy remains the focus for those she left behind. Given the evidence of the GPS trackers alongside the 911 call, which theory do you believe the timeline supports? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. In cases where the evidence leads to conflicting conclusions, public awareness is often the only path toward a final resolution. To see another investigation where the official timeline was challenged by new evidence, click the video on your screen.